Now, back live with Ben Fordham.
Yes, this is the Bolt Report. Our panel tonight includes Jane Marwick, the host of Marwick on Sunday on Radio 6PR in Perth, and the host of The Front Page on Friday nights here on Sky. And also Liberal Senator James Paterson. Senator, good evening.
G'day.
James. James. Good evening, James, and good evening, Jane.
Hello,
Just try
Ben.
working that.
Yeah, James and Jane.
James.
We have this on Credlin when we've got James Morrow and Jane Marwick as well.
There you go.
Yeah,
There's a show in that. They'll turn that into a show on Sky. In fact, you haven't hosted a show on Sky yet, James, have you?
I haven't. I'm waiting for the call.
Wow.
Oh, well, James, here we are.
There's no more Pine and Marls, so maybe there's an opportunity for James and Jane.
Yeah.
Listen, Jane and myself were not in the Coalition Party Room meeting today. It looked like a bit of a party in there with all these new faces. Tell me what the mood was like there, Senator.
Overwhelmingly, Ben, my feeling was one of relief, although not in the way that you might think. I felt a sense of relief on the part of the Australians who supported us and voted for us and hoped that we would win. I had this amazing experience repeated over and over and over again at the pre-poll, the 3 weeks of pre-poll voting in the lead up to the election, where people who would go into the booth who'd give you no indication of all of how they were voting would come out of the booth and without any fanfare, they would just quietly come up to you and say, gee, I really hope you win. Please tell me you're going to win. Promise me Bill Shorten's not going to be Prime Minister because he's going to ruin my small business, he's going to take away my retirement, he's going to ruin my family's financial security. And so I felt today a real sense of relief on behalf of those people that Scott Morrison's called the quiet Australians. With this victory, we have honoured them, and it's now up to us to deliver for them because they were genuinely afraid for their future under a Shorten government, and thankfully they don't have to worry about that anymore.
Jane, it was only when I saw in the room today the number of new faces standing up that you understand the scale of what happened there on election night.
Yeah, I think it's very, very promising, Ben. It's exciting. Look, a couple of great new faces from WA, Vince Connolly and Stirling, Celia Hammond, who I have to say had a rotten campaign run against her, the former Vice-Chancellor of Notre Dame. I've known Celia for a long time. She's a great candidate and going to be a great MP. I think it's renewal and very, very promising. And Morrison's message, you know, is hard work. And I think we're going to see great hard work from some very aspirational new candidates, new MPs.
Senator, the word complacency came up today. I understand that Scott Morrison was drilling home that message because everyone's on cloud nine at the moment in Coalition Party Room land. He was making sure people understand you can't afford to be complacent.
That's absolutely right. We can't take it for granted, and if we don't deliver for the Australian people in the way that we promised that we will, they will very harshly judge us for it. So there's a real sense of duty and obligation to deliver for them. Just picking up Jane's point about renewal, I mean, about 25%, a little bit less than 25% of the people in the party room today are brand new. It almost felt like a brand new government that had been re-elected. That kind of renewal normally happens when a new party comes into power for the first time. So for a government that has effectively won an election for its third term in office, that's a remarkable thing, and I think it bodes really well for the medium and long-term future of our party and the government.
After someone wins a football grand final, there's Mad Monday, Jane, and often people play up and start, you know, undoing all of the hard work they've done throughout the year. And it was pointed that he said today, the Prime Minister, look, there's a lot of talent in this room. In other words, if you've been given a responsibility and you stuff it up, someone else will be given that job.
I liked hearing that. I liked that. I liked the fact that we saw Scott Morrison get straight back to work, and I like the idea that if you're not good enough, and let's face it, some might not be good enough. If you're not good enough, there are others waiting in the wings. We are spoilt for choice with talent now, is the message the Prime Minister's sending, Ben, and I think that's a really healthy one for our nation, for our government.
What about when you look across the other side of the House at the moment? Senator, I'm not talking about in the Senate specifically, but when you look at the other side and them trying to sort out what they're going to do at the moment, they seem to be flat-footed at the moment as far as policy is concerned because the new leader, Anthony Albanese, is saying that he's got to start from scratch and work out what they're going to do. It's going to be a difficult time for them to rebuild, but I suppose you can't underestimate Albo, considering, well, his public popularity for starters.
Well, I have to say I've been scratching my head a little bit watching the Labor Party grapple with this election result. I mean, for an election where they got absolutely smashed in Queensland, and particularly in regional Queensland, their answer is an inner-city, hard left-wing MP as their leader and a Victorian MP who said that the decline of coal was a good thing. I mean, I'm not sure that's the winning ticket to win back the people of Queensland. I'm not a Queenslander, I'm not an expert, but I have a hunch that might not be the right call.
What do you reckon, Jane, when you have a look at Team Albo and Richard Marles?
I think Team Albo, very, very likeable, but I agree with James. I was talking to Graham Richardson about this, and I was sitting in on the Alan Jones show today, and congratulations to Alan, by the way, on that re-signing. But he was asking Anthony Albanese about coal and policy, and the phones just went into meltdown. You know, people aren't going to forget this. Yes, he's likeable, but he is very left. Is he going to move to the centre? Does that then bring his authenticity into question, Ben?
Let's go to another issue involving the Heart Foundation. They released an ad campaign over the weekend. It's been running heavily on TV and radio, where the message in the whole thing is, you know, young children saying that mum always told me that she loved me, but she obviously didn't, because she died from heart disease, and therefore she didn't put her own heart health first, and she mustn't have loved me despite what she used to say. Now, they're in damage control at the moment over this one. Senator, I know you've seen the ad. What do you make of it?
It's an ad in incredibly poor taste, and if the Heart Foundation has any decency at all, they will withdraw it and apologise for it unreservedly. I mean, what's happened here in the public health lobby is they've become incredibly judgmental and incredibly morally superior. Essentially, the message of this ad is if you're sick, it's because you're a bad person and you've made bad choices and you should feel shame for that. Now, that's a shocking thing. I mean, these are serious medical issues that should be dealt with a serious medical response, not moral hectoring and essentially victim blaming.
I spoke to the Heart Foundation on radio this afternoon on 2GB, and they were saying, yeah, but we're trying to get a message through. And I said, yes, but in real life, you wouldn't say to a child who just lost their mum or dad, listen, they're dead because they didn't love you.
No.
So why would you say that on TV?
Ben, I agree with James on this, and you know, you and I do talk radio. People don't like the sneering. You don't know anyone who's overweight or in poor health by choice. You really don't. It's something that people grapple with, and we know that in the lower socio-economic sectors of our community, people really struggle with that. They're working tremendously long hours, they might be sedentary, all sorts of issues come into play, and the sneering does not work. It's a bad ad.
So the Heart Foundation, you reckon, Senator, should withdraw the whole thing?
Well, and the ends justifies the means defence of this ad is almost as bad as the ad itself. I mean, they think that they are so imbued with moral superiority that anything goes and justifies anything that they do. I mean, really, they've lost the plot here, and they really need to look at themselves very carefully.
So when's the James and Jane show going to start on Sky?
That'd be good, wouldn't it?
What do you think?
Soon,
next week?
Yeah, next week,
Next
James,
fortnight?
You're
Ready to go, Senator?
ready
You're
to
in?
go.
Sign me up.
Okay, he's got that look too of a TV host as well.
Yeah, determined.
Senator, good on you. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
And Jane will be seeing you on the box really soon.
Thanks, Ben.
Good on you. There you go. Jane Marwick and also James Paterson joining us there from Canberra. You're watching Ben Fordham. This is the Bolt Report. We're back with more in just a moment.